think they would have had the same support if this happened 2019 before the pandemic and all the discussion on obviously mental health?
That's a great question. Let's go to the root of this, the stupidity of the French Open for kicking out one of their biggest stars. Like, that's what they did. They drove out one of their biggest stars, and they somehow think that they're showing the way. So to answer your question, that's a really good question. I'm 50-50 whether that would have happened. Yeah, some brands might have taken a tougher stance. However, I don't think the brands are super worried about the post-match press conference to build their relationship with Osaka.
So, I mean, do you think that the movement away, though, is going to be like? Do you think the mental health will be forefront for the next 3 years? You talk to brands, clients. Do you think the mental health will be in the forefront, like Black Lives Matter, or do you think people keep having to push and push and push? Or do you think it's here to stay? That's something you can actually talk about, and brands should actually engage and embrace.
Well, I love what Calm did, the Calm app. So they are donating $15,000 to a support fund for mental health in France. They've also offered to pay any future fines for any tennis player. But, interesting, and I think, Don, the reason I think mental health will stay at the forefront is less on the brand consumer marketing side and more on the internal employee engagement side, where it is so important now, and companies and organizations are realizing that, if somebody walks into your office with a broken leg, you accommodate. If somebody came to your office that had a concussion, it's going to be hard for them to work. I think that will keep it at the forefront. The NFL knows full well that if kids don't understand football, they won't cheer for football later in life. Esports knows full well that if you understand a first-person shooter game, you will follow the first-person shooter game. So I think by extension, you could say that if young women are dropping out of sport at 13, which they do, because, they're going through physiological changes and this concept of being sweaty, and I'm not sure we have the right structures and role models, then that is obviously a fundamental issue, is if you don't understand. And I think it applies to any sport that somebody doesn't understand. But I also feel, and I love your comment, because I actually think that one of the best things, and I was on a Clubhouse doing this the other night, I made this comment. I, for the life of me, don't understand why the NHL keeps dicking around and just doesn't say, we are launching their own version of the NWHL and take the PA and the current NWHL and merge them. Because when you're talking about a $6 billion business, which hockey is, I don't understand why you can't find $100 million in there to run a women's league. People
are dying to get back to sports. You think music will have the same revolution?
100%. I think that you and I were talking last year about, will you want to go back to that action seat, to the mosh pit? I think music will. I think, when you talk to people, when you do icebreakers, people in meetings now say, what's the first thing you want to do? I hear so many people say, I just want to hear live music. I want to see the performer sweat.
So here's a question for you. The Junos, do you think it's half the size of esports, that engagement and passion, equal to esports, or the Junos twice as much as esports in Canada?
Talking about the Junos or music compared to esport?
Yeah, but number of people that actually...
Music or the Junos?
Junos versus esports.
That's one event against an entire category.
Is it half, equal, or twice as great, the Junos?
Twice as great.
It's about the same.
This is pretty good.
The point is, it's a big deal. I mean, it's like the CFL. The CFL is a massive deal in Western Canada. Curling's a way bigger deal. Junos in the Toronto boardrooms are underrepresented. And the fact is, if they actually went out and talked to Canadians, it's a massive deal that a lot of people watch, a lot of people engage, and a lot of people look forward to, as is obviously music. So the only reason I compare it to esports is because it's so much free press.
Anything to promote getting the vaccinations. I just wish Canada had some to distribute. But the fact is, all these things are fantastic opportunities for people to step up and do. So kudos to Tesco and to Bud for both those spots.
I just love the creativity, right? Just, like real time, simple, go to the pub.
Like if you look, and the Tesco one, if you're like, what was the production cost? What was the cost to have that idea? Like the point was they could implement it in a day. I'm not sure what the budget is, but not many zeros and impactful. And the happiness, as you said, Mark, the happiness on those women's face when they got that that beer at 1201 is something that I think a lot of people are just trying to enjoy in 2021. Not the beer, but any human contact.